Hello students, welcome to the program NEET Foundation, and this is the continuation video of cranial nerves. So previous video we have discussed about up till 6th cranial nerves. Okay, so in this video we are going to discuss about the 7th cranial nerve to 12th cranial nerves. Okay, so let us see in detail here. So what is the 7th cranial nerve? It is also called as a facial nerve. Okay, so facial nerve, the facial expressions, the kind of facial movements. So within the face we can observe maximum number of the sense organs. Okay, so let us see here. It is a mixed nerve. Mixed nerve in the sense it is highly branched towards to multiple organs for giving the multiple reactions according to the internal and the external stimuli, right? So its sensory fibers. So in the mixed nerve, its sensory fibers carry the sensation of taste, nothing but the tongue. The nerves which are attached towards to the tongue and which are from where exactly in the taste? The anterior 2/3 part of the tongue itself. The anterior region of the 2/3 part of the tongue is attached with the fibers, sensory fibers of the 7th cranial nerve called as a facial nerve. So this is well as general sensations from the skin of the external ear. Not only the mouth, it also segregating the different types of sensory fibers towards to the external ear itself. Okay, so it is responsible for balancing both the sensing of hearing and sensing of facial expressions and also sensing of the mouth, especially for recognizing the taste. Okay, so let us see in the picture here. This is the facial nerve. This is the root of the facial nerve. Okay, so it is highly branched towards to the back region. Posterior ocular nerve, it is highly branched, yes, and also it is attached towards to the salivary glands. It has embedded inside the salivary glands, right, so that the salivary glands are able to just secrete the saliva, and also when to stop secretion of saliva is under the control of a nerve called facial nerve. Okay, so its branches are cervical branch. So this branch is called as a cervical branch. Sorry, this is the cervical branch, and this second one is the marginal branch. Yes, so as we know that the 3 pairs of salivary glands which are present near the lower jaws and one near the palate region. Okay, submaxillary, sublingual and the parotid glands which are responsible for secreting the saliva and also responsible. When do the saliva secretes? When the food is placed on the tongue and when it touches the palate. Okay, so then only we could able to observe the secretion of saliva. How much amount of saliva will be secreted according to the quantity of a food which we are ingesting into our mouth, and also helps in recognizing what kind of taste with the help of a papillae which are present on the surface of the tongue. Okay, and next partition is the buccal branch. Buccal branch, right? So buccal cavity which is responsible for giving the hollow space for making the porridge material food after mastication. It must be swallowed with the help of a throat. Okay, throat in the sense near the throat region. Okay, so here from the buccal cavity the partially digested food will be moving into the food pipe called as a esophagus. Okay, the food which is mixed up with the saliva from the mouth towards to buccal cavity which is ready to move into the esophagus is called as a bolus. Okay, so this conversion of food material from the solid particle to saliva mixed food material which is ready to swallow and enter into the next particular region is under the control of a facial nerve. What is the nerve branch is called as a buccal branch. Okay, next this is the marginal branch which is attached towards to the muscles and also the salivary glands, and next one is the zygomatic branch. Zygomatic branch, it is embedded within the salivary gland and also moving towards to the muscles near the eyes. Okay, and next one is the temporal branch which is related towards to the eyes. Temporal, the word temporal field and the visual field we have observed in the vision process. Okay, so nerves which are optic nerves are related towards to the, are attached towards to the retina we have discussed. So one is the direction, the degree which is changing from the retina towards to the partition of a object where we are observing. The near vision is being controlled by the optic nerve. Okay, so this is nothing but the temporal branch. This temporal branch is related to eyes, and this zygomatic branch is related to muscles near the eyes, surrounding the eyes. This buccal branch is related to buccal cavity in the mouth, and this marginal branch is related to lower jaw and the salivary glands, and the last one is related to cervical branch. Cervical is nothing but, it's a type of nerve which is arising from the cranial part. Okay, and this one is exactly near towards to the external ears. Okay, so not only the facial muscles, the optic one are nerves, and the taste ones exactly the controlling of a external ear, skin of the external ear. Okay, next. Still, what are the functions of the facial nerve? It contains the somatic and autonomic motor fibers. It contains the somatic and the autonomic motor fibers. Actually, what is a facial nerve? It's a mixed nerve. Okay, so within this mixed nerve, there is a differentiation of the fibers. Which kind of fibers? Especially the motor fibers are attached in a neighboring parts of this nerve. Somatic motor fibers supply the facial muscles, and controls the facial expressions. Okay, so these motor fibers which are attached towards to the facial muscle near our face, exactly inside the face. So these are controlling the movement of the facial expressions by the somatic motor fibers. Somatic in the sense voluntary muscles will involve here. Which kind of muscles are involved? Voluntary muscles are involved. Okay, so here what kind of fibers are also working? It seems parasympathetic. Yes, parasympathetic in the sense what kind of nerves we need to get it in our mind. So those are the autonomic muscles. Muscles are the autonomic, and the different types of nerves, kind of nerve is the motor nerve which is moving attached towards to the effector organs. Okay, so these parasympathetic fibers innervate is nothing but which is deeply seated into the salivary, nothing but the submaxillary and the sublingual, where we can observe the submaxillary and sublingual exactly on either sides of the jaws. And glands, which kind of glands? Exactly the lacrimal glands. Secretion of the tears are under the control of a facial nerve which is accommodated in the near the brain region. So thus they control the secretion of two. What are they? One is the saliva, depends on the food what we ingest, and according to the situation we get the tears. In what condition we get the tears? In emotional condition we will get the tears. And for example, if any so high spicy food item, if we consume the spicy food item, also we get the tears. If somebody slaps, then also we get the tears. Okay, so according to the situation, the different types of different situations, the tears will be secreted, but saliva will be secreted whenever we place the food material inside to the mouth. Okay, see in the picture you can observe this. The facial nerve is related towards to eyes, buccal cavity, nothing but the taste, and also the salivary glands, and also the ears. Okay, the muscles which are present near the ears are also under the control of a facial nerve. Okay, next. What is the next pair of nerve? Is the eighth pair of cranial nerve, is also called as a auditory nerve. Auditory, the word itself indicates it is related to sense of hearing a sound. Okay, so this is also called as a vestibulocochlear nerve. Vestibulocochlear nerve means, so exactly these nerves are placed near the vestibular region and the cochlear region. Okay, so this might be subdivided into two partitions. Let us see. So this vestibular, it has two branches. Yes, vestibular and the cochlear branch. What has two branches? The auditory nerve has two branches. One is the vestibular nerve, which innervates into the, deeply seated into the seated into the vestibular region, and one more is deeply seated into the cochlear region. Okay, so which is responsible for generating the waves, sound waves, and we could able to hear it. So it might be sometimes a very less sound, it might be a medium sound, it's a flexible sound, or it might be high pitch sound. Okay, so according to the situation of sound what we hear, we give a response. We enjoy the minimum decibels of sound. We may not hear clearly the very low decibels of sound, and we may not hear the very high decibels of sound. It may damage our internal ear, the eardrum part. Okay, so the information which is given by the nerves are called as a auditory nerves, right? So the vestibular branches carries, the vestibular branch carries the information. Where is the vestibular nerve here? This is the vestibular nerve, right? This is the vestibular nerve. Okay, so this vestibular nerve is related towards to the vestibule. Sorry, this is the cochlear nerve and this is the vestibular nerve, which is branched towards to the vestibular branch. Okay, this is the vestibular branch, right? Next, this is the cochlear nerve, which is related to cochlea. Cochlea, which is highly coiled structure, right? So this is related to rotation of head. How we can rotate our head? With the help of a vestibular nerve, which is attached near the vestibular region inside the ear, right? And which is originating from the vestibular apparatus of the internal ear. So where it is seated, it seems. So it is exactly originating from the internal ear, in which region? Vestibular apparatus. And what is responsible of this vestibular nerves? It controls the rotation of the head. So we can bend our head, we can bend back our head, and even we can twist our head like this. Yes, so all these rotations and movements of the head is under the control of a auditory nerve, especially in which branch? Vestibular apparatus, right? And where it is situated? Exactly, vestibular apparatus is in the internal ear. So the cochlear division, what is the second branch? The cochlear division carries the cochlear division of the nerve, auditory nerve, which carries the auditory sensations, nothing but the capacity of hearing the sound waves from the cochlea of the internal ear. Okay, so cochlea is responsible for receiving the stimulus of sound waves, and it gives the reaction according to the decibels of the sound. Okay, let us see in the picture here. Already we have discussed, this is the vestibular nerve and this is the cochlear nerve. Okay, so cochlea containing the spiral ganglion. Okay, so these are arising from where? From the pons varolii of a brain. Okay, so pons varolii controls the nerve to attach towards to the vestibular region and the cochlear region exactly in the ear. It is responsible for movement of head and also responsible for receiving the different types of decibels of a sound waves. Okay, hope you all understood. Next, it makes the cochlea, which is attached towards to the semicircular canals in the vestibular region. Okay, so that is different, that is related to the head. Okay, so next let us go for the next concept. Ninth cranial nerve is called as a glossopharyngeal nerve. What is the ninth pair of nerve? Is called as a glossopharyngeal nerve, and this is completely the mixed nerve, and this is also highly branched. This is also highly branched nerve. So it's a sensory division, right? Sensory fibers which are divided which carries the conscious sensation of the taste. Okay, so if we are in a conscious, then only we could identify what is a bad taste and what is a good taste. Okay, so as we relish the food item like sweets, do we relish in the same process like as we intake the bitter gourd or any spicy item or any poison? If we are being blindfolded, sometimes in movies and some play games, they'll be showing some kind of game like blindfolding and just identify the taste. So our brain, even our eyes are in a closed condition, our brain will be in a activated condition by the help of a nerves. Okay, so these are responsible for conscious sensation of the taste. Which kind of food will be which taste, and if what kind of taste is good for us, we will be relishing it, and if it is a non-tasteable, nothing but non-relishable, we will not be interested in tasting that particular food item. Okay, so this sensation of taste from the posterior 1/3 part of the tongue. So previously we have discussed about 2/3 part of the tongue, that is related to secretion of saliva and identification of the taste, and here remaining 1/3 part of the sensation of taste is under the control of a glossopharyngeal nerve, right? So this tongue and sensation of the touch, on the tongue, so whether it is hot, whether it is cold, whether it is pricky, sticky, yes, so we could identify whether the food material is, what is the texture of the food material, the tongue could able to identify, right? And pressure from the pharynx, where we can observe the pharynx is a common passage for both of the oral cavity and a what we can say that throat, vocal cords. Okay, so the food pipe and the windpipe, the common region is a pharynx. Okay, so while we just eat the food material, we will be just swallowing it. So while swallowing, the pressure might be exerted. So that kind of pressure, how much it could be able to control. Okay, so if it is moving towards to the throat, so it will be giving a choking condition. Okay, choking in the sense immediately we will go for cough. Okay, so that kind of pressures, that kind of movement, the sensation are also under the control of a glossopharyngeal nerve. See here, where is the glossopharyngeal nerve? This is the glossopharyngeal nerve which is arising from the pons varoli of a brain. Okay, so this is highly branched. So this is the superior ganglion, jugular foramen, and this is the superior ganglion, and next one inferior ganglion, next one is otic ganglion, and next branch towards to the parotid salivary gland, exactly near our palate region. Okay, so this glossopharyngeal nerve, only 1/3 part of the taste is identified by the nerves which are moving towards to the, identified in the sense they are attached towards to the tongue, but also attached towards to the gland. Okay, so how much amount of saliva will be secreted? Parotid is under the control of a glossopharyngeal, and remaining two are under the control of a facial nerves. Okay, so next one is the partitions. You see, this is the partition. One is related towards to pharynx, one is related towards to tongue and also the palate. Yes, this is the palate region, and this is the tongue region. Yes, this is the pharynx region, and these are the pharyngeal muscles. So this is the carotid sinus. Carotid sinus and common carotid artery, nothing but. So these are related towards to the blood vessels, how much blood there has to be pumped towards to the particular organs. Okay, next. Still, the glossopharyngeal nerves functions as a carrying the unconscious sensations. Unconscious sensations, when we are not in a conscious, we might be in a sleep, and sometimes in some situations like some people might be in a coma conditions. Okay, unconscious brain will be in a activated position with the help of a nerve called as glossopharyngeal nerve. So which is related to the flow of blood. Okay, flow of blood towards to what? Towards to the carotid sinus and the common carotid artery. For the blood vessels, how much the blood has to flow, it is under the control of a glossopharyngeal nerve. And from the carotid sinus and carotid body receptors, the blood vessels especially, so its motor division consists of motor division, nothing but, so these motor fibers of the nerves which are attached towards to the pharyngeal muscles and also the muscles towards to the blood vessels. Inside the blood vessels we can also observe the muscles, but those are the what we can say that those are the smooth muscles. Okay, so somatic as well as the parasympathetic fibers. Somatic are related to the voluntary muscles and parasympathetic fibers are nothing but the nerves which are attached towards to the smooth muscles. The somatic motor fibers, voluntary muscles, the motor fibers which are attached to the voluntary muscles. So the somatic motor fibers supply the pharyngeal muscles, means voluntary muscles, and help in swallowing. Okay, the somatic motor fibers of the glossopharyngeal ones, so those are attached, those are attached towards to the pharyngeal muscles. So these pharyngeal muscles are giving the pressure so that we could able to swallow the food very easily, right? And the parasympathetic fibers controls the secretion of salivary gland. That is what given over here, the secretion of the parotid salivary gland, how much it secretes, how much it has to be secreted, and when to stop secretion is under the control of a glossopharyngeal, and is also controlling the sensation of the food material on the palate, and also 1/3 part of the tongue taste is identified by the glossopharyngeal nerve and also responsible for attaching the fibers towards to the carotid sinus and carotid artery. How much blood flow must be done into the particular regions. Okay, and next 10th cranial nerve is the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve, as we know that this is highly branched nerve, this is longest nerve which is distributed towards to the multiple organs of digestive tract and also multiple organs inside the body. Let us see here. So vagus nerve is a purely mixed nerve and most widely distributed among the cranial nerves. Among all the cranial nerves, vagus nerve is a highly distributed nerve and it is the longest nerve. Okay, so the sensory fibers of vagus nerve, sensory fibers which are attached towards to the sense organs with the receptors of a sensory neuron. So those are distributed onto the pharynx, larynx, nothing but common passage of the food and the air. Larynx, especially the windpipe, esophagus, nothing but the food pipe, and various visceral organs. What are the visceral organs? The organs which are responsible for digesting the food and organs which are related to a particular organ system. Okay, so present in the chest. So inside the chest what we can observe? The lungs will be, the heart will be, and the different kinds of muscles which are attached towards to the ribs. Okay, and the abdominal region and carry the different sensations from these organs. Okay, so these nerves, vagus nerve is related to partition distributed towards to the throat, esophagus, digestive tract and the region which is in the thoracic part. Okay, nothing but the organs, very vital organs called as a lungs and the heart. Okay, let us see here. So the vagus nerve distribution, it is related towards to the thoracic region, heart and the lungs, and also highly distributed towards to the digestive system. This is the digestive system, it is related towards to throat, nothing but the mouth, the buccal cavity, the pharynx, the esophagus and the stomach towards to the small intestine, large intestine, and also related to the organs, the neighboring organs which are helping for the digestion of the food. Why? Because they have to trigger the organs to secrete the juices which are helpful for digestion of the food, and also helpful for in the thoracic region the heart and the lungs, and also related towards to the diaphragm, the liver, the pancreas, and also the blood vessels which are attached towards to these particular organs. Okay, so this much of highly distribution of vagus nerve which makes the activation of heart, the activation of respiratory tract, and the activation of the digestive tract, and also the related organs, right? Next, still the 10th cranial nerve, the motor fibers of the vagus nerve. Which kind of fibers? Motor fibers of the vagus nerve are mainly of parasympathetic, it seems. Okay, the heart, the lungs, the digestive tract, the muscles which are present in each and every organ are the involuntary muscles, especially the cardiac muscle functioning as a involuntary action. So the motor fibers of the vagus nerves which are mainly parasympathetic type and supplied to the muscles and the glands of a various thoracic and abdominal viscera. The special organs which are present in the thoracic cavity and the special organs which are present in the abdominal region, especially the stomach and the intestines, and related towards to the complete alimentary canal. Okay, so what are playing? It seems the motor fibers which acts as a parasympathetic nervous system, and these are responsible for innervating towards to the organs in the thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity. So this nerve takes part in the swallowing, voice production is under the control of a vagus nerve. Okay, and next, movement of alimentary canal. Do the alimentary canal move itself? The muscles which are present in the alimentary canal in each and every organ will be helpful for contraction and relaxation. And secretion of digestive juices. What secretes into the alimentary canal? Pancreas will secrete the mixed juices, and liver will secrete the bile juice into the digestive tract. Yes, not only for this, the liver will be activating in multiple regions, and the liver functions will be in different conditions, different situations. According to the situation, the liver will be secreting different types of liquids. Okay, so that is under the control of a vagus nerve. And secretion of the digestive juices and inhibition of the heart rate. Inhibition we have discussed already in the parasympathetic system. So this is responsible for inhibition. Nothing but heartbeat will be controlled by the parasympathetic nerves fibers which are present in the vagus nerve. Right? Next, let us see here again the partition. The root is, vagus nerve root is here related to pharyngeal branch, laryngeal branch, and the muscles of the pharynx and the lungs. For the lungs, for the heart, for the lungs, especially even here also it will be partitioned. So until the alveoli, how they could able to receive the different types of gaseous molecules, oxygen to enter into the blood and carbon dioxide to receive back from the body cells, and it is also related towards to the digestive tract, towards to the stomach, towards to the liver, towards to the spleen. What is the function of spleen? It stores the lymphatic material. Celiac plexus, and also it is attached towards to the kidneys, abdominal region. Not only the digestive tract, it also controls the function of the kidneys to separate the materials, mineral salts and nitrogenous waste materials from the kidneys, from the blood, and also related towards to the complete digestive tract, how to digest, and after digestion undigested food where it has to go, are all under the control of a vagus nerve. This is highly branched nerve, very longest nerve. Okay, so what is the count of that nerve is 10th cranial nerve, right? Next one is the 11th cranial nerve, spinal accessory nerve, spinal, related towards to the spinal cord. It is a motor nerve having dual functions, medulla and the upper 5 or 6 segments of the spinal cord. Okay, so the spinal cord anterior region and the end of the medulla oblongata is making the nerve called as a spinal accessory nerve. Okay, so connecting link in between the brain last part and originating part of the spinal cord. Okay, so its cranial division controls the movement of the larynx, pharynx and soft palate, while the spinal division, the cranial nerves, the cranium is responsible, cranial nerves which are arising from the spinal accessory nerves are responsible for giving the movements in the sense controlling the movements of the muscles near the larynx, muscles near the pharynx and palate, exactly in the upper jaw. So while the spinal division controls the muscles of neck. Okay, controls the muscles of the neck. So thus it controls the voice production and also movement of the head. Okay, so movement of the head is also being controlled by the other nerve. What is that? Vestibular and the cochlear nerve. Vestibulo-cochlear nerve, also called as a auditory nerve. Right, vestibulo-cochlear nerve is also responsible for rotation of the head. Okay, apart from this auditory nerve, the spinal accessory nerve is also responsible for giving the rotation, movement of the head and also production of the voice. Let us see here. So these are the nerves which partially arising from the cranium and partially arising from the spinal cord. Okay, so these are related towards to the throat, pharynx and also related towards to the muscles which are related in the neck region. Okay, and also responsible for muscles of the neck, larynx, pharynx and the palate. Okay, and next one is the 12th cranial nerve, is also called as a hypoglossal nerve. Okay, so it's a motor nerve supplying the voluntary muscles of tongue. Movement of the tongue is under the control of a hypoglossal nerve and thereby controls the tongue movements. It's especially meant for movement of the tongue. Okay, so it's a motor nerve, right? Hope you all enjoyed this video, dears. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you.